There are a lot of Pokemon moves out there, so our CBR team of Poke scientists and experts have come up with what we think are the best of the best. The Pokemon series is full of powerful electric moves. You know when your mascot is Pikachu that moves like Thunderbolt are gonna get a lot of play. None of those compare to the true electric powerhouse. I'm talking about Bolt Strike, one of the signature moves of Zekrom from Generation 5's Pokemon Black and White. This powerful move not only deals a ton of damage, but has a small chance of paralyzing the enemy. We even get to see this one up close and personal during the Pokemon Black and White movies. Good luck trying to learn this one, Pikachu. You need to get on that Zekrom level if you want Ash to win the World Coronation Series in Journeys. Pokemon has been piling on powerful moves that cause all sorts of chaos over the years. That's why it can be nice to go back and look at some of the classic OP moves that really set the curve. Solar Beam was definitely one of those powerhouse Generation 1 moves that could seriously change the game. Its power does have a bit of a drawback though. You have to sacrifice a whole turn just to charge it up. If you shoot and miss, that's 2 whole turns wasted. Solar Beam will literally make your match or break it. I used to rock this move with my original Venusaur in Pokemon Red. I'm pretty sure Lance's Dragonite is still hurting after this one took him out. In Generation 8, the folks behind Pokemon decided that Steel-type moves weren't quite overpowered enough. It was no longer sufficient to have players shook when they go up against a high-level Steelix. Now that same Steelix needed a killer move just to make you sweat. That is definitely what Steel Beam is. This massive blast can absolutely obliterate anything in its path. The only problem is that it's so powerful that there's a bit of blowback. Using this move will also take out half of your own HP. That makes this move much more of a Hail Mary, because if you don't take your opponent out, you've definitely made their job a lot easier. I've always had a bit of a soft spot for fire-based moves. My original playthrough of these games usually features the Fire-type starter, so I get really excited anytime there's a massively powerful Fire-type attack. And boy, is Eruption exactly that. This move is exactly what it sounds like. An explosion of fire and lava that devastates your opponent. So you'd better come out the gate spitting this fire or leave it alone. Psychic-type Pokemon are awesome. There's just something so cool about the idea of attacking directly at your opponent Pokemon's mind. So psychoboost is definitely one of the best attacks out there for Psychics. It's a massive blast of psychic energy that frankly just looks awesome. It's one of Deoxys' signature moves, and frankly, no one does it better. Sorry Mewtwo, but Deoxys has your Psychic Orb of Energy game beat. Brock is my favorite Pokemon character of all time. If they made a game that was literally just called Pokemon Brock where you were only allowed to play with Rock-type Pokemon, I'd play it. While that would definitely limit my options, I would at least have an awesome move like Head Smash to rely on. This super powerful Gen 4 move is like a massively upgraded Headbutt. While that sounds like a pretty metal way to take someone out, it also has a pretty obvious drawback. If you hit someone really hard with your head, it's also gonna hurt your head. That's just the price you have to pay when you're literally punching someone with your freaking skull. Grass-type Pokemon have access to all sorts of mean powers that others don't always have access to. They can drain your energy, put you to sleep, paralyze you, and more. That's why it's probably fitting that one of the strongest grass attacks has quite a big drawback. Frenzy Plant is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a massive frenzy of roots that will take an enemy down. The only problem is that it uses so much energy that you have to spend the next turn recharging. Well, that basically makes it a reverse Solar Beam, right? Dialga and Palkia from Diamond and Pearl are 2 of my favorite legendary Pokemon of all time. No, not you, Giratina. You aren't nearly as cool as they are, and you know it. Dialga's Roar of Time is one of the most beautiful and brutal moves in the entire series. It's also so powerful that Dialga has to take a second afterwards to recharge. Of course, that name does kind of make you think that Dialga would be literally throwing you through time, but a beam is still pretty nice, I guess. Also, Roar of Time is one of the best move names ever. It sounds like the title of a fantasy series or something. I don't know who was in charge of naming this move, but well done. Pokemon is definitely a series where you have to suspend a lot of disbelief. This is a series where a little yellow electric mouse can fight against a giant snake monster made of rocks. We're really not supposed to acknowledge just how crazy that is. That job gets a lot harder when you see a move that's literally called Rock Wrecker. This move is exactly what it sounds like. A rock-type move is literally wrecking you with a whole bunch of giant rocks. Somehow, I'm supposed to believe that my Pokemon who was just rock-wrecked only fainted? Okay, Pokemon, I'll go with that. Apparently, Nurse Joy can regrow bones, organs, and everything else because this move looks like it would destroy pretty much anything. Blastoise is such a cool Pokemon that none of us wondered how it naturally evolved two giant metal water cannons out of its shell. There's just something so iconic about seeing Blastoise use his Hydro Pump as a concentrated water blast takedown. The makers of Pokemon weren't satisfied with that though. They do have a bit of a go big or go home attitude at Nintendo, and that's how Hydrocannon was born. It's basically just Hydro Pump but amped up all the way to 11. The brilliant blue water makes such a pretty picture that you almost forget how utterly devastating it is as an attack. Luckily, this is another move that forces you to recharge after. We're often so focused on how cute Pokemon are that it can be easy to forget that they're beings of truly awesome power. One of the moves that shows off this power is Blast Burn, which is less an attack and more of just an explosion of fire and carnage that your opponent is unlucky to be in the path of. Like other moves, this one requires a recharge turn, but I can't blame them. From the looks of it, this move should be used less for battling and more for building demolition. Sometimes Pokemon moves are about creativity and versatility with certain powers. There are moves that attack opponents in the future. There are moves that turn an opponent against themselves. There are even moves that manipulate time itself. That's why it's so funny to see a truly OP move that is just beautiful in its simplicity. Giga Impact isn't a fancy move by any means. It's essentially just a Pokemon doing a souped-up belly flop on the competition. While this might not seem powerful or fancy compared to many others, it still ranks among the most powerful moves in the series. In your earliest days of playing or watching Pokemon, you may not have had a good sense of how powerful they could be. When your entire move list consists of giving your opponents tackles, scratches, or mild electric shocks, you might not think that these beings are all that supernatural. In Generation 1, there were several moves that showed you otherwise. Hyperbeam is one of the most iconic moves from the first gen of the series. Like Solar Beam, it's a charged concentration of energy that releases a devastating blast. Using this move for your first time completely erases all those hours spent grinding with your low-level Pokemon. While Ash has had a major change in fortune over the years, Team Rocket truly hasn't. Jesse, James, and Meowth seem to be in an eternal cycle of trying and failing to steal Pokemon. There aren't many glory days for the trio, but there have been a few cool moments that showcase the Pokemon universe. For a while, the trio was accompanied by a Wobbuffet who did not like staying in that Pokeball. While he was mostly used for a punchline, he did show off one of the franchise's coolest moves, Mirror Coat. This move allows the user to do double the damage that they took back to their opponent. It is a fantastic way to get revenge on a player that just blasted you. Too bad Team Rocket could never figure out how to take advantage of it. They'd probably have Pikachu by now. Ash has taken a lot of heat over the years for the long wait for him to win a tournament. He finally did so in Sun and Moon, which was well worth the wait. It was also deserving because Ash grew a lot as a trainer during the series. In one match against Nanu, Ash was frightened of one of his Pokemon's counterattack. This made him hesitant to trust his Lycanroc's speed and obedience. The enraged Pokemon even had to turn on Ash just to prove itself. Together, both he and Lycanroc overcame their problems, culminating in Lycanroc learning the insanely powerful move. This showed that the move wasn't just dodging and doing double damage back, but also a trainer and Pokemon learning to work together. Dark-type Pokemon are aptly named. Their movesets often have nasty consequences that other attacks don't. This shows off the sneaky tactics and cruel powers that such Pokemon are known for. Meowth is probably the best known Dark-type, albeit in his Alolan form, and he's chaotic evil for sure. Low-grade evil, but it still counts. Knockoff is exactly this kind of move. It's not enough that this attack does some damage. Oh no, this attack also renders a Pokemon's held item worthless. Attacking a Pokemon is fighting fair, but attacking an item is just underhanded. That's what makes Dark-type Pokemon so interesting though. They're crafty. There are a lot of underhanded moves that make you want to throw your Game Boy across the room, but few quite like Foul Play. Unlike most moves, Foul Play actually uses your opponent's stats to calculate damage instead of your own. It basically turns an enemy's power against them. The higher your attack stat is, the higher the damage you're gonna take. The move might as well be called Stop Hitting Yourself. It's the go-to move for Dark-type Pokemon and mean older brothers everywhere. Does anyone else ever wonder how water-type Pokemon are able to battle on dry land all the time? How does a Magikarp tackle something when all it should be able to do is flop around on the ground? While the answer could be that these are just video games and we shouldn't think about it, one move may illuminate a different possibility. Water Spout is essentially a giant eruption of water from the ground that does massive damage based on your HP at the beginning of the match. It also might be a showing of how water Pokemon battle. If they can summon huge blasts of water from the ground, maybe they can summon small pools of it as well. Water Spout may be the extremely powerful answer to all my second grade questions. There are several moves that show it isn't enough to just do a massive amount of damage. No, these moves go for the stats as well as the HP, which is kinda like adding insult to injury. Well, maybe adding more injury to injury. V-Create is exactly one of these moves. This fire attack creates a giant V which overwhelms the enemy. If anyone's ever seen V for Vendetta, you know that this is because V is the most powerful letter in the alphabet. That, or I misread the movie. V-Create deals a crazy amount of damage, but it also decreases your defense, special defense, and speed by quite a bit. That is a very vicious vivisection of virtues. Pokemon have access to all sorts of cosmic and spiritual powers. Some of them have ghostly powers, can alter the fabric of time, and even see the future. So, naturally, some moves go to some really weird places. Destiny Bond, for example, isn't just an attack. It's a spiritual bond placed between your Pokemon and your opponents. That means if your Pokemon faints, so does the other. It can be a really clever tactic if you know you're overpowered by an enemy. Though why we've never seen a trainer have a kind of existential crisis about it is beyond me. I mean, I certainly would. It's also the kind of underhanded move that you'd think would be illegal in official matches. Unfortunately, there are no rules on the mean streets of Pallet Town. Some moves are so powerful that it seems like even the Pokemon using them can't really control what they've unleashed. It's more like these moves are the Pokemon becoming conduits for their own power rather than true masters of it. These are like the Pandora's box of moves. I don't really know what's gonna happen, but I'm unleashing it anyway. Boom Burst definitely feels like this kind of move. It's essentially a massive tornado of sound waves that hurts every single Pokemon on the field. The problem with that is that it also includes any allies. It's a risky move that threatens more than just your enemies, but the entire battle itself. Though one has to wonder why it doesn't hurt the trainer too. There are a lot of scary-looking legendary Pokemon out there, but for my money, none of them are as terrifying as Rayquaza. This giant green dragon is so terrifying that it's what you call to stop all-powerful Pokemon like Groudon and Kyogre from reshaping the world. One of the reasons why Rayquaza is that formidable is its signature move, Dragon Ascent. This incredibly powerful move is basically Rayquaza raining down power from on high. It flies into the air and then rushes back down, unleashing a truly incredible amount of damage. Some Pokemon are legendary for a reason. There are some moves that are a lot less about attacking and a lot more about preparing for the next attack. New Pokemon trainers and players focus on the attacks that do crazy amounts of damage and nothing else. Pokemon Masters make sure to also focus on the moves that increase their Pokemon's strength, speed, and other stats for the battle ahead. That's why Geomancy is such an OP move. The legendary Pokemon Xerneas has to take 2 whole turns to make Geomancy work, but it is completely worth it. This move allows Xerneas to massively boost its own abilities, turning an already formidable opponent into a true beast. That's why it's always smart to take it out before it boosts itself up to that level. There are plenty of Hail Mary moves out there that you use only when it's absolutely necessary. Of all these moves, there's one that's the most famous for being the one that causes arguably more damage against yourself than the other player. Well, depending on when you use it in the match, that is. That's right, I'm talking about Explosion, the craziest of the crazy moves in all of Pokemon. This famous move that you usually see from Pokemon like Electrode is basically an internal explosion that deals insane amounts of damage. The drawback is that it also takes you out of the equation entirely. So it goes without saying that this is the most self-destructive of all Pokemon moves. Well, I mean, there is a move called Self-Destruct, but Explosion does more damage. You gotta respect the commitment from the Pokemon that use it though. They play to win. Okay, there's one move that has become a bit infamous among Pokemon fans. It may not seem like the most powerful move at first glance, but Scald has reshaped the entire game in a way that some fans are still unhappy about. Basically, it's another water blast attack, only this time the water is boiling hot. So not only do you have the standard ability to blast away at Pokemon weak to water, but it also has a decent chance of burning you. This inflicts further damage on your Pokemon every turn and drastically decreases its stats. What's worse is that this is a TM move, which basically means that any water-type Pokemon can use it. Sometimes you don't need a Pokemon to Soul Bond or explode itself to really irritate your opponent. Evidently, really hot water will do the trick better than anything else. Well, there you have it, some of our favorite Pokemon moves ever. Which moves from the series do you think are the greatest? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to CBR for more Pokemon action.